Irena Sendler was born on February 15th, 1910, and grew up an only child in the Polish town of Otwock. Her father, Stanisław Krzyżanowski, was a renowned physician who was one of the only doctors to treat patients with typhus during the outbreak in Poland. Sadly, Irena's father contracted the deadly disease and passed away. Irena was 7 years old. After her father's death, Jewish community leaders, touched by his kindness, offered to help Irena's mother pay for her education. Beginning in 1927, Sendler studied law for 2 years and then Polish literature at the University of Warsaw, interrupting her studies for several years from 1932 to 1937. In 1939, when the Warsaw ghetto opened, Irena learned of the poor conditions. She began by smuggling food, clothing, and medicine into the ghetto, then turned to smuggling children out of the ghetto.
Hi.
Hello, sweetheart.
Could you please state your name for the record? Full, please.
Rhonda Hassig, H-A, S as in Sam, S as in Sam, I-G. It's a Swiss name, Swiss-German name.
Okay, thank you. And what relation do you have to Irena Sendler?
Oh, I wish I were related to Irena Sendler.
Well, not biologically, of course, but...
No. So I'm a retired teacher. I live in Fort Scott, where the Lowell Milk Incentive for Unsung Heroes is. And I took a job here, a part-time job here about 3 years ago, writing grants and giving tours to people, okay. For the center. So I feel like I know her, like she's a family member. So I talk about Irena all the time because she's our foundational exhibit. And when people come in to have a tour, and we had 14,000 people come in last year, we always start them with Irena Sendler.
What do you know and like to touch on the most when talking about Irena Sendler?
What do I talk about the most? Well, of course, I tell them the story of Megan and the three girls and Norm, and how they, how they got to know her, how it came about. In 1999, the three girls were taking a history class in a little town about 20 minutes from here, named Uniontown. Uniontown has, get ready, about 150 people. It's very tiny. But they had a history teacher who was nationally recognized and awarded. So a fantastic history teacher. And every year, Mr. Kennard, did a History Day project with his students. And the three girls wanted to do their project on somebody from the Holocaust. And they hadn't learned about the Holocaust yet at Uniontown. I think there were two freshmen and a sophomore maybe, so they were still pretty young. So the teacher had a box full of all these articles and newspaper magazines about the Holocaust. And he said, well, look in here and pick something out. So they picked out an article from U.S. News and World Report that was about 5 years old, and it was called The Other Schindlers, as in Oscar Schindler. But Mr. Schindler saved 1,000 people. So they find in this article a little piece about a woman named Irena Sendler, who saved 2,500 Jewish children from the Warsaw ghetto. I'm like, what? That has to be a misprint. And maybe they meant 250. So they're intrigued. So they start looking into her. Well, they go to Google, and they have, in 1999, one hit. And that one hit was the Jewish Foundation for the Righteous, JFR. And they knew Irena. And the Jewish Foundation for the Righteous, literally until all the righteous Gentiles or non-Jews that saved the Jews during the Holocaust, until they're all dead, they help pay for their utilities, their rent, and they knew of Irena Sendler. Wow. They knew of her. They knew she had a tree in Yad Vashem. They knew that she was a righteous Gentile. Okay, she was a Polish Catholic woman. And they gave the girls what information they had about her, but they really couldn't tell them a whole lot. And they went everywhere. They came into Kansas City. They went to colleges. Everything they found about Irena was in Polish. So they went ahead and did their play, a performance. They called it Life in a Jar, because when Irena would save children, she would put their names on a piece of paper with their Christian name, their Jewish name, their new Christian name, their parents' name, the address she was taking them to, where they were going to go, and how their birthday. And she hid them in jars underneath an apple tree outside the Warsaw Ghetto, right across the street from Gestapo headquarters. I tell people, if you're going to do something illegal, like hide Jewish names under a tree in, World War II, Holocaust Poland, do it at night and do it like right in front of where the people that could come out and get you and kill you, do it right there. Because, if you're doing it right there, then obviously you're not doing something really bad. So that's what they did.
Using false papers and creative means of escape, Irena risked her own life to rescue Jewish children and hide them safely in orphanages, convents, and foster homes. Irena Sendler became the head of Zgoda's Children Bureau. She obtained documents that allowed her to enter the ghetto, and she began to smuggle children out. The Germans learned of Irena's activities. On October 20th, 1943, she was arrested by the Gestapo and taken to Pyrok prison. Irena was tortured brutally, but she refused to give any information about Zgoda or about the children she had placed in hiding. She was sentenced to death. Members of Zgoda bribed one of the Gestapo agents, and on the day Irena was to be executed, she was permitted to escape. She had to go into hiding for the remainder of the war, but continued to coordinate her rescue work. If it was not for those girls from Kansas, we never would have known what Irena Sendler had accomplished and how many lives she had saved.